What's going on, everyone? Today we are at Select Speed Shop and we are going to be putting together my S13 SR20, freshly built from Mazworx. And then we got a JP S14 head right here. If you're not familiar with him, he's been really making a name for himself in the past handful of years, few years, building a lot of people's engines, a lot of people in the drift world and beyond. We have everything laid out here, pretty much ready to go, all thanks to my homie George, because I have never put one of these together, so I don't know exactly what I'm doing, and that's why George is gonna help me out. But yeah, so we got the head here, got the rockers, oil pump, lower upper pan, some hardware, hydraulic oil lifters, chain guides, brand new chain, brand new cam oil squirters, and brand new gaskets and all this, everything we need basically to assemble this thing. So that's what we're gonna do. Someone was asking me what the process was to have Mazworx build the engine, or at least for me, build just the block. And it was pretty straightforward as far as I know. In my case, it was different because my homie George behind me here, he had a few customers that needed blocks rebuilt. So I kind of just threw mine into the mix of theirs as well. And George literally handled all of the correspondence with Mazworx, and basically any questions answered were through George. So for me, it was really easy. I don't know if George can touch on the subject, but basically I think you just hit them up, tell them that you want to have your block rebuilt or a whole long block, and you send it to them, you ship it to them, as long as it's good.
It's pretty straightforward, yeah. They
Yeah.
put it together for you if you need parts. I mean, obviously they do hundreds of these, so they just tell you what you need, put it together for you. They obviously have their own packages. They have their own engine program, so they use all their own pistons, rods, all their own packaging. But if it needs anything like your engine needed to be sleeved, because Evan does not know how to keep the engine cool and not overheat it, so
My engine was toast.
so heat.
The block and the head was fucked.
And then it
Just a little pitted.
needed, it needed a new crank, and it needed to be sleeved.
Mine needed a new crank?
Sure,
Really?
I think so.
I don't know, I can't remember. Like I said, I
think it did.
there were 3 other engines that were,
needed new cranks.
apparently they all needed new cranks. That I'm just learning that now, but it did end up being a little bit more expensive than I expected it to be because they had to sleeve it.
But yeah, it was all good. But yeah, they put it all together, and then you have the options to pick from in regards of they have their stages and stuff. In the regards of how much power you want to make and what your goals are for the engine. Then you just get it back all wrapped up, nice and pretty, and then just put it together.
And then you put it together, make some power. Mazworx does a really good job. They've been doing this a long time, especially SR20s, and they're really trick anodized purple threaded freeze plugs here in the block. These guys. And it's honestly overkill for an engine that's gonna make sub 400 horsepower, like myself. But I think they do that, they develop that for their drag cars or customer drag cars where they're pushing like, I don't know, what do they make with their drag cars? Like 1,000 plus?
Wow, yeah.
1,000 horsepower or something? And they were literally blowing the freeze plugs out of the block from so much crankcase pressure. So like I said, it's a little overkill for a drift car, making sub 400 horsepower, but that's what they do to your engine no matter what, whether you ask for it or not, I believe. And it's just a really trick thing. Pretty cool. So anyway, let's get this thing together. Putting at TDC.
Yeah, pretty much just put it top dead.
So George just lubed up the crank and put the key in there. And now we are going to, what's the next step here, George?
We're just gonna put another Woodruff key in it, the half moon thing here.
Another key.
Then we're gonna go with the sprocket and the oil pump drive, and then chain guides, O-ring, don't forget that. And then we're just gonna put the oil pump on, torque it all up, and go from there.
He said it. We're gonna do it.
Yes, sir.
All right, we're gonna torque these to 19 Newton meters. 19, baby.
Good work. Need
Fresh chain, baby.
48.56.
All right, we got to count the chain here, count the links. I don't want to say any numbers right now because it'll fuck George up.
Well, we just got to count the rollers in between. You have to have 20 rollers in between the two top mating marks, which is usually right here. There is a mark on a factory sprocket.
Okay.
And then you have a marked piece and a chain link. So you only have 3 marked ones. So on a new chain, it's pretty easy.
Okay.
On a used ones, that's why you really have to focus on counting the rollers, because like this stuff disintegrates over time. So they don't really you not always see this.
Now we're just gonna grease up this little O-ring so it doesn't go out of its place here.
We just have to apply a bunch of liquid gasket to an oil pump. I'm gonna push this guy on there. So we got all of this stuff on that we need. Now we just need to grab some zip ties.
I just ripped the oil pan through the parts washer, and then I'm gonna blow it dry and make sure there's absolutely no sediment stuck in it anywhere, because that would be not good at all.
It's a little trick tip. If you upgrade to this guy, when you build your motor with a bigger opening, S13 S15 style updated pickup, the mounting point here is different than on your regular S13 one. With the S13 one, you can usually put the upper pan and then still finagle this thing on. It's not that bad. With this one, when you have this baffle on and then you put the upper pan on, if you decide to put this on afterwards, it's a huge pain in the ass putting this little M6x10 bolt in the back, and super easy to drop it in there, or it's frustrating. So if you're putting one of these together and you're using this pickup, it's better off just to put it on now and then just snake the pan around it than trying to put it on at the end and try to get this bolt in there. So just a little thing, because I've been there, I've done it, and I've spent like an hour trying to put this thing back on. So yeah.
Pro tip from George.
A little pro tip.
Pro tip. What are you torquing those to?
Most of the M6 bolts are 7.5 Newton meters.
Oh, okay.
So like 8 Newton meters, and most of the M8 bolts in the engine are 16 to 18 usually Newton meters. So it's kind of like a normal thing for them on this engine, and that's most of the bolts in this engine are that.
All right, what are we doing, George?
These guys remove these when they clean everything in Mazworx. It's like a little baffle plate that sits here, so
Yep.
you just have to reseal this. Put this guy on, grab some red Loctite them in, just to kind of for safety. You don't want none of these falling out in your upper pan, and then I don't know, have a bad day. So yeah,
No bad days.
We'll grab no bad days. We'll grab some Loctite and we'll be back. I don't even know if you really need much of it there, but it comes like that from factory, so it's like, you know what I mean?
Might as well.
Yeah. Might as well just do the right thing. It's kind of the same as like your valve cover baffles have sealer in them everywhere as well. Let's try this fancy thing. Ooh.
Fancy Permatex.
I know.
Red Loctite.
It's like this twist thing. Sure.
It's like a glue stick from elementary school.
Somebody's probably going to be like, yo, you will never remove these after you put the red Loctite on them, but they come off. It's the same when you do the valve cover baffles. You want to obviously red Loctite those too.
Yeah. That's why I brought it.
Because
that's what I was thinking.
Because that's an extra bad day if one of these like falls into your valve train.
Yeah.
Like this, you might get away with like it just like laying somewhere in an oil pan.
Right.
But if one of these little things.
Well, the valve covers are Allen heads too, so.
Yeah.
You
could, yeah. Because
I mean, worst comes to worst, I guess you could. If these Phillips heads strip out, then you could just. You could either.
Oh, you can change them to Allens. Yeah.
Yeah, either change them to Allens, or I'm just saying if they strip out trying to get them out with that red Loctite on there, then you just vice grip them.
These are factory. You can do that, or you can also. I've had a few upper pans before in the past that were really beat, and the threads were gone in them. So I had to drill these out to an M6 because these are M5. And then you can just put a different piece of hardware in there. These technically have like a torque spec, but also it's so little that like if you can get it really good with your screwdriver, you're probably even over that.
RTV cock.
Oh, I'm not good at this, man.
Don't say that now. Looks good to me, dude.
They have like the Milwaukee electric powered ones now.
Yeah.
Those things are fucking crazy.
So far, so good, dude. Looking pretty good to me. Don't think I could caulk any better myself.
Go from there.
Plop it right on there. Lower pan.
Back to caulking.
Getting cocked.
Back to caulking.
So yeah, we were having an issue with this guy. Not even really sure what was going on with it, but we ended up using a different piece of hardware, Allen head, and yeah, got it to hold. Got a little nervous there for a second. We thought we might have to take the whole upper pan off, and we're potentially going to put a time cert in there, but
Torqued up, dude, let it go.
Because we did not want to redo it.
Because we got a corner over there, dumbass.
All right, what are we doing here, George? Gonna blast the cams off?
Gotta take them off so we can get the head ready to go on the block. Put head studs in, torque the head to the block. Then we're gonna have to bleed the lifters. Put the lifters in, the cylinder head, put the rocker arms in. Evan got the dual arm guide mod, so they're both guides. There's no more shim in the guide, which makes it better for
holds the
rocker arm in place more.
Yeah, better. So the factory S13 SR only has a single guide for the rocker arm on one side, and you can do a modification where you do the dual, and that basically holds it in better and hopefully stops it from blowing off, which, if you know about these engines, it's a pretty common problem.
It's a really good thing to do nowadays if you're getting your engine put together. Talk to your engine builder, and I'm sure they will strongly advise you to do that, unless you got plans on going with a V cylinder head. But if you're not doing that, then that's the best thing you can do.
Yeah. All right, I was off getting lunch for George and I, and he already set the head studs in, and he's already ready to torque them down. So we got him torqued, get the head torqued. All right, George, torque away.
Yeah, torque away, man.
All right, what are we torquing these to?
30. The starting with that is 3-step, 30 a pop until you get to 90.
3 steps starting with 30.
60 to 90.
Then 60, and then 90. And then that's it. And then you're fully torqued.
Yo, I'm warm. It's a little warm here.
Georgie's doing all the work. I'm just sitting back filming,
all right,
trying not to sweat.
We're at 90 at all of them, so
next move.
Lead the lifters, put the rockers in, call it a day.
So yeah, we're talking about sweating because you know, we had the great idea to assemble this engine on one of the hottest days of the year so far. So
it's pretty warm.
It's pretty warm. Pretty warm. So yeah, head's torqued. Now we are going to bleed the hydraulic lifters, put those in, and continue assembly. Time the engine, put the cams in, something like that. Oh yeah, let's take a minute to talk about how destroyed this engine was. I didn't even realize it when I pulled the thing apart and I took the head off. I didn't even look at the spark plug holes or galleys, and they were literally every single one was cracked. So I went to do a leak down test, and it's the first time I had done a leak down test, and so I wasn't sure if I was doing it right because literally every single cylinder was leaking. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm not gonna put this in the video because I'm gonna look like an idiot because I don't know what I'm doing. But I think I did know what I was doing, but literally every cylinder was leaking because every spark plug hole had cracks in it. All, like, some of them all the way out to one of the valves. It was crazy. And then the block, let's see, one of the pistons tops was all chewed up. I forget what was wrong with the block. What was wrong with the block where why I had to sleeve it?
I think the cylinder walls were just like...
Cylinder walls are just too scored or something. So yeah, Mazworx ended up having to sleeve it. The engine had a tough life. I don't think it made it in the first video, but so the history on this engine is it was originally in Justin's car back in 2010 when we were out in California trying to get our Formula D licenses that year. Justin blew up an engine, and Garage Boso, Ross Petty's old garage, was helping Justin out and either sourced the engine or already had it lying around in their shop. And we're pretty sure I remember Pat Mordaunt's name being thrown in there, so maybe it was his engine at one point, but either way, it had a chewed up piston at the time, and they like just took a flat disc to it because they were literally just trying to get Justin like back on the track to the event like the next day or two after. And so they really helped Justin out getting this thing up to snuff. And then all those years later, engine came into my hands, and then it actually went to a machine shop and was rebuilt. And I think I cheaped out in areas and didn't replace the chewed up piston, and the head didn't get too much head work done to it. And that led me to last year with a very, very tired SR20. And I only did 2 events last year with it. And yeah, it was definitely, it's time to retire. So, all right, we got George over here pumping in some oil to these hydraulic lifters. I cut off a piece of welding wire, got the hydraulic lifter submerged in oil, and just pumping it with the welding rod that fits in the hole until air bubbles stop coming out of it, and then just plopping them in the head. Literally sweating, just talking. Can't imagine George over here doing all the work.
Yeah, we're chilling, man.
Gonna get the rest of these lifters bled with oil in them, and then move on to the next step. Got the rockers in, assembly lube.
Yeah, another one.
O'Reilly 1030 special. All right, we got George setting the cams in here. Already put some assembly lube on the rockers, and then he just poured a little bit of O'Reilly special 1030 where the caps go for the cams.
O'Reilly special conventional 1030, baby.
It's the move, dude. You heard it here first.
High on zinc.
High on zinc, baby. Something that JP did that maybe other people don't know or realize that you should do, and definitely wasn't done by the machine shop previously on the head that I ended up fucking up. So he went and drilled out all 4 of these holes right here. Basically, those are oil galleys, and you can't really clean them out very well unless you drill them out. So we drilled them out, cleaned them all out, and then he tapped them, threaded them, and just put plugs in them. A little added something that JP does because he really cares and he really knows about these engines, about SRs in particular, and I know he's really good with RBs, and I believe he's really good with JZs as well. So hit him up if you need some more fresh cam oilers.
Yeah, they're worth the monies. It goes guarded.
Yeah, I heard it. That was weird. I guess I was expecting a louder like.
Oh, it just releases the pin, and then as soon as you go forward, it goes click, click. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it needs to return to the same position
After 2 rotations on the crank.
Yeah, if you look at it now, intake right there, exhaust in the middle of that gear. So
yeah, the pins.
The colors you only get over, I forgot, it's like 700 something rotation things. So if you
700?
Some crazy shit like that.
Until they line up again?
The color mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that once. I was that paranoid. When I was putting my first engine together.
Really?
I set that and I rotated until the color marks landed. I didn't know what it was like. That was many years ago.
Damn, dude.
Like 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Like I remember just sitting and like turning it because I was just like, all right, well this lines up, but like, and I like kept going until I got the colors.
Yeah. I mean, you wanted to be sure.
Yeah.
So George put some RTV on there, and now we're putting the baffles back in. So previously I had KG Performance Solutions. They drilled and tapped the holes for those baffles so they could remove them and then media blast the valve cover, and then they powder coated it primer before it got sent off to Sebastian at Mazworx to do his phenomenal paint job, which you're gonna see any minute when we put it on the engine to top it off. All right, it's just about complete. I'm gonna put the icing on the cake. George is gonna do the honor.
I'm gonna do the honor. I got a bass boat over here, dude.
Damn.
It's pretty wild looking. So people not to laugh at you or your valve cover hardware, it's just temporary.
I have better valve cover hardware. I just didn't bring it with me. Just want to seal it off so I can transport it. All right, guys, that is a wrap for today. Huge thank you to my homie George over here at Select Speed Shop. Yeah, he helped a ton. He basically did the entire engine.
Come on, man.
Because I've never assembled it before, so would have taken me a lot more time than it did to have him do it. I helped a little bit, but anyway, yeah, a lot more confident it was done correctly, as George has done this many times. So, and it looks pretty killer, especially with that fresh.
No, the whole
valve
point
cover
with this
paint
is
on
to
it
fit
from
only in
Sebastian.
this because the bumper is cut for low on the ground.
This thing is dope. Can't
But
wait
it makes no sense in any other situation.
Dress the rest of it. Turbo manifold on it. Drop her in. Start her up. Get it tuned. And then beat the shit out of it. All proper like.